The house at 27 Maple Street had always kept its secrets behind shuttered windows and the soft ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Every Tuesday, for 38 unbroken years, Elias Martinez walked the short cobblestone path to the brick-faced bank on Elm Avenue, his briefcase clutched tightly, his shoulders squared against the weather. The townspeople called him the Tuesday Man, a quiet figure whose routine was as predictable as the sunrise. When he finally lay still, his heart surrendering after a brief illness, the quiet of his passing seemed to echo louder than the church bells that tolled that rainy afternoon. It was I, Mara, his wife of 43 years, who found myself alone in the dim study after the funeral, the scent of wilted lilies still clinging to the air, the key to the old iron safe, a relic Elias had kept hidden beneath a loose floorboard in the pantry, felt cold against my palm. I had never asked why he went to the bank with such devotion. I had never wondered what lay inside that heavy, rust-spotted box. With trembling hands, I turned the key, the lock sighing open as if exhaling a secret held for decades. What I saw inside shattered the simple image I had carried of our life together. Elias and I met as teenagers at the community dance hall, both shy and awkward, laughing over a spilled glass of lemonade. We married young, building a modest life on a carpenter's wage, and my part-time work at the local library. Those early years were frugal, cracked dishes, patched clothes, yet filled with whispered promises under the glow of a single lamp. When our first child, Lena, arrived, Elias took a job at the municipal water department, his schedule rigid but reliable. It was during those early parenting nights, sleepless, hungry, that he first mentioned the bank. "I'll make sure we're safe," he whispered, eyes dark with a determination I could not then decipher. He began the Tuesday pilgrimages shortly after, a ritual born not of pleasure, but of necessity, he told me, to keep our future secure. I trusted him. I never questioned the regularity of his trips. Our life settled into a rhythm, school runs, birthday cakes, the occasional vacation to the lake where we rented a modest cabin. The children grew, left home, and started families of their own. Elias never altered his Tuesday routine. It became a quiet pillar of our marriage, a silent contract that I honored by never intruding upon it. When the safe door swung open, I was first struck by the scent of old paper, yellowed, brittle. Nestled atop a stack of faded envelopes lay a small, leather-bound ledger. The first entry, dated April 12, 1986, read, "First deposit, $327 for the children's education." My eyes widened. Beneath the ledger were bundles of cash, not the modest savings I had imagined, but tens of thousands of dollars, tightly banded. Beneath that, a series of black and white photographs, a young Elias in a military uniform, a solemn man with a scar across his cheek, a woman with haunted eyes holding a baby. Further down, a sealed envelope addressed to Mara, "Open only when I'm gone." My hand shook as I broke the wax seal. My dearest Mara, if you are reading this, the weight of my silence has finally lifted. I went to the bank every Tuesday not merely to deposit earnings, but to hide a truth that would have shattered the life we built together. In 1985, before we married, I was conscripted into a covert government unit during a conflict far from home. I was ordered to infiltrate a smuggling ring that financed insurgents. The money you see, the savings, is blood money, tainted by the very hands that paid me to betray my conscience. I could not bear to tell you, fearing I would lose the only pure thing I ever had, your love. The photographs are of my comrades, men I was forced to betray. The scarred man is Victor, who died because I could not protect him. The woman is Elena, a civilian caught in the crossfire. I kept her child safe, promising to protect the innocent, a promise I could not keep to myself. I have spent every Tuesday praying that the guilt would lessen, that I might someday atone. L.I. left a second ledger, a record of every deposit that actually funded a secret account meant to aid families displaced by the conflict. The key to that account lies in the small brass key taped to the back of this letter. Use it if you wish, to right some small wrong, to help those still suffering. I love you, Mara. Forgive me for the shadows I carried alone. Elias, my heart hammered. The room seemed to tilt. I had lived with a man whose very routine concealed a war-torn past, a man who had walked the same streets as a haunted soldier. I sat on the cold floor, the ledger heavy in my lap. The brass key glinted. A choice. I could bury the truth with Elias, or I could honor the secret purpose of those Tuesday deposits. I called our eldest daughter, Lena, who arrived with her own grief still raw. "Mom, what is all this?" she asked, eyes wide at the bundles of cash. I read the letter aloud. Lena's hand flew to her mouth. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Dad, he never told us. Why would he keep this from us?" I decided then that silence had already cost enough. I contacted an old friend, Dr. Priya Seth, a humanitarian worker who had once helped refugees from the same conflict Elias had referenced. Together, we traced the numbers in the second ledger, a discreet offshore account Elias had maintained, funneling a portion of the dirty money to an underground network that sheltered displaced families. With Priya's help, I authorized the transfer of the remaining funds, now legally vetted, to a registered charity aiding survivors of that long-ago war. The bank, now aware of the unusual provenance of the deposits, cooperated after legal counsel reviewed Elias's confession and the charitable intent. I also chose to share Elias's story, not his crimes, but his ultimate sacrifice, with our children. We held a modest memorial, inviting a few of the charity's beneficiaries, a young woman who had lost her parents, now studying engineering thanks to the aid. Months later, I walked the familiar path to the bank, not to deposit, but to thank the tellers who had quietly processed Elias's weekly transactions without question. The manager, Mr. Collins, a kind man with silver hair, listened as I explained the truth. "Your husband's conscience was a heavy burden," he said softly. "You've turned darkness into light. The safe now sits empty, save for the brass key, a symbol, not a tool of secrecy. I have begun writing a memoir, not to expose shame, but to illuminate how ordinary lives can intersect with extraordinary histories. Our children have started a small foundation, Tuesday's Light, that supports veterans and displaced families, a living tribute to Elias's hidden atonement. Sometimes, on quiet afternoons, I sit in the study where the safe once hid its secrets. I hear the faint ticking of the grandfather clock, a reminder that time moves forward, that even the deepest shadows can be pierced by a single act of courage. I remember Elias, the man who walked to the bank every Tuesday for 38 years, not just as the Tuesday man of town lore, but as a flawed soul who in the end chose redemption.